Good morning and welcome to Peace Out, where we are all learning together to peace out because we know the Prince of Peace. And hopefully we're getting to know him better and better. Hopefully we're getting to learn more about having a relationship, an actual relationship more than religion, which is what we're going to talk about today. And that's why we can peace out. Nothing in his kingdom changes in response to situations on the earth. We have a lot of reasons to not peace out. I mean, personally, we have reasons to not peace out, right? Don't we all have reasons to go, oh my gosh, I look at my bank account this morning and went, wait, what? Wait, what? Right? And so there's so many things going on around the world, which is nothing new. It's just, we know we're more connected. And so things affect us a little bit more, which is a kind of a good thing, right? But there's so many things going on in the world. There's so many things going on in just all the different nations. And I taught, I don't remember where it was by way of Zoom last week, but we were talking about how God's heart is for the nations. And that's always been what he's always wanted, the nations, not just a person, not just a nation, but he wants all of us to come to him, to be part of the fold and part of the kingdom. And he made a way for us to do that, right? So, but as we're looking at the nations, as we're looking at our lives, as we're looking at all these different situations that may present ourselves, we have a lot of reasons to not peace out. But the problem with that is that there's so many other reasons to peace out because God doesn't change. He doesn't go, oh, I didn't know this was going to happen to the world. You mean they were going to have another war? You know, they were going to do this or they were going to do that. He's not stressed out. God's not stressed out. He's not sitting up there wringing his hands going, I don't know either. I don't know. What are we going to do? And he's just like, right? I've got you no matter what. That's the part that we got to remind ourselves is he's got us no matter what. So there's more reasons to peace out. And the main reason is that Jesus is the Prince of Peace, gave us his peace. The second reason, the foundation of that is God is still God and his kingdom is still the kingdom. No matter what happens, it doesn't matter, right? So that's awesome. So it doesn't have anything to do with what I'm going to talk about. So last week we talked about spiritual growth. The week before, though, we talked a lot about the Pharisee and how they were so rigid in their beliefs and they trusted in their belief system more than they trusted in God. And I even made the point, I don't know, can a Pharisee get saved? And then we know Nicodemus was the last Pharisee we talked about, and he came to Jesus undercover at night. The Pharisees leveraged the law, trying to condemn people, trying to cause fear. We're going to kick you out of the synagogue if you don't do what we say, if you don't believe like us, things like that. And they were mean. They were just mean, right? So, but Nicodemus came at night, and we know he came to Jesus and he said, we know you are the Messiah. I know you're the Messiah, right? And so this morning, as I was reading and thinking, and over the weekend, I've been praying about a theme to take for the week. I don't really have a theme. Maybe I'll find it as we're doing this morning, and I'll go, I know where that's going to go. But I remembered a passage in Philippians. Now, this one scripture is you've probably heard it a lot. It's in Philippians 3, and Paul says this in verse 8, everything else is worthless when compared to the priceless gain of knowing Christ my Lord. He says everything. Nothing is as precious or as worthy of knowing. It's not worth chasing religion, denominations. No, we want to study the word. We want to know the word. And I'm not saying any denominations are bad, but that's not the important thing. It's not more important to be Baptist than it is to be a Christian, right? Although if you're a Christian and you're Baptist, that's cool too. You can be a Christian and be Pentecostal, be Assembly of God, be Methodist. I think I've been all of those. Yeah, I have. I even worked in a Catholic church once, right? And so you can be a Christian and be a denomination, but being a Christian, knowing Christ is the most important part, no matter where you find your place in your theology and your belief system and in serving God. The most important part is knowing Christ. And Paul says, I count everything as loss so that I can know Christ and become one with him. How powerful is that? Become one with him? Now, that sounds like a far-fetched idea, that we can be one with Christ. But Jesus prayed that in John 17. He prayed that we would all be one as he and the Father are one, that we would all be one in him. And so if he prayed it, not only is it possible, it's probable. It can happen. It's going to happen. If he prayed we would all be one, then we can all be one, and we can be one with him. We're one with each other, and we're one with the Father because Jesus is one with the Father, right? So it says, I count everything. Actually, this says, I count everything else as garbage so that I may have Christ and become one with him. He's like, nothing else is worth Christ. He's got to be preeminent. He's got to be numero uno, number one in our lives. And then everything else can line up behind that, under that, right? All the rest of our life comes up under nothing else is worth knowing him, period. Because knowing him gets us to that peace. Knowing him gets us to that place where we trust him more. We don't freak out because we know God's got us. No matter what's going on in the world or in our lives, he's got us, and we've still got that peace. We've got salvation. We got things that can't be taken from us. Like I said, I've been saying it a lot lately. The enemy tries to distract us from that peace, but he can't take it. He can't disrupt it. He can't send out another signal that makes us think we don't. He just tries to distract us to make us not realize that we have that peace in Christ, that we can rest in peace with Christ, right? That he's trying to distract us, but he can't stop it. He can't make that peace go away, right? So he says, I count everything as worthless when I compare it to knowing Jesus. But then listen to this. So as I was reading it, I went, wait a minute. And I went back up to verse 4, and he says, Paul says this, I could have confidence in myself. If anybody can have confidence in themselves and in their belief system, I can, Paul says. And he goes through this list. He says, I was circumcised when I was 8 days old. That was the religious duty. That was the covenant in the Old Testament, right? He followed it to a T. I was born into a pure-blooded Jewish family that is a branch of the tribe of Benjamin. I'm a real Jew if there ever was one. What's more, I was a member of the Pharisees who demanded the strictest obedience to the Jewish law. Paul was a Pharisee. And I remember I knew that, but when I read it this morning, I went, oh my goodness, we talked about the Pharisee like 2 weeks ago. It's all we talked about. I had totally forgotten. Paul was a Pharisee. He followed the law to the T, and that's why he was killing Christians, because he saw them in opposition to their religious laws. He did that because they believed Jesus was the Messiah, and the Pharisees did not. He thought he was doing God a favor. He was zealous. He goes on to say, as far as being zealous for God, I persecuted the church, and I obeyed the Jewish law so carefully that I was never accused of any fault. Wow, that's a lot, right? That's a lot to process. But he says, I was a Pharisee, but then that's why he goes, but it's all nothing. It doesn't mean a thing. The only thing that means anything is knowing Jesus Christ as Lord. And so he says, I count everything else. I discarded it all. I don't call myself a Pharisee anymore. I don't even have to call myself a Jew anymore. Because we are one with Christ. He says, I count it all as loss, all as garbage is what the New Living says, so that I can have Christ and become one with him. Isn't that our goal? To have Christ, to know Christ, and to become one with him, to know the Prince of Peace, and remind ourselves that Prince of Peace, who will always reign on the throne of David, the spiritual throne of David, who will always reign as the Prince of Peace, that Prince of Peace is still with us right now, and we can know him, and we can be one with him. That blows my mind. I'm probably going to be thinking about that today. What does that look like? What does it feel like? What is it supposed to look like? What is it, that we can be one with him. Jesus made us one with him through the cross. We have so much we haven't discovered yet. When we get in here and know and start really getting a relationship and see scriptures through relationship and not just as a set of laws, because that's what the Pharisees, that's what God was a set of laws, period. And you had to follow them, and they made them more complicated to follow. Jesus summed it up in two, love God first, love everybody else too. Right? But the Pharisee says, oh no, and then you got to break this law down into all these little bitty sub laws and make it as complicated as possible and persecute people and make them feel demean, make them feel less than, make them feel unworthy. And Jesus goes, forget all that. I got you covered. I love that. And that's why I'm going to peace out today. He's got you covered. Peace out. Have a great day. I'll see you again tomorrow.